Hey, it's the Moral Marriage Podcast, guys, and we are super excited. We're getting close to episode 100, hammering these things out, trying to give you guys as much value as possible. Please never feel like you can't email me a topic or a question at cass@moralmarriage.com. And if you're getting tremendous value, guys, please drop a review, share, because, oh man, it's incredible the feedback we're getting with the help and the support you're getting just from these episodes. So thank you. Today, I want to talk. Go.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
We're going to do, we didn't talk about this ahead of time. We're going to do a giveaway for the 100th episode. Yeah. We'll talk about it when we do the 100th episode. I'll tell you guys what it is.
All right. So why you don't need the apology. We're going to talk about why peace is so important in the home.
Stop trying to lead and make decisions all the time.
You should not be proud if you raised your voice and screamed at them.
No matter what.
No matter what. I'm Cass.
And I'm Catherine. Why am I allowing him to do this in front of our children? Why am I allowing this to happen at all? You don't get to say whatever you want to a man and push him to the point where he snaps.
I might have been a really bad man the other day, but today I went out of my way to be a good man, and she thanked me for it.
Is that you always want to act in the direction you want to go. So
he is just a paycheck. What about his needs?
we're Moral Marriage.
Let's flip divorce statistics with the new marriage.
Now, before I get into what I want to talk about today, of course, if you've been following us, you know we have a slightly different view on apologies. Okay.
I went by slightly, he means opposite. Drastically different.
That's true. Yep. She's correct. So why don't you give your idea on apologies?
Oh, sure. So I believe that you need to apologize when you did something wrong. You have to explain what you did wrong and why you're sorry for it. Because if you just say you're sorry and you don't tell me what you did wrong, I don't actually want to hear that you're sorry. You can do better next time. Sure. He'll talk a little bit about why he doesn't believe apologies should happen, but I need an apology, and it has to be very specific, very thoughtful, very well thought out, and very genuine.
Oh, she's not wrong. She knows herself very well.
Oh yeah, very well. And women, a lot of women are like me. There are also a lot of women that are not like me, which is why he teaches the apology in a different way. So it's a little bit trial and error. You don't know what kind of woman you have. We're very mysterious, we women. But I would say try it both ways. And no matter what, his way is still correct. Your wife might not need mine, but your wife, everyone needs what he's going to say. A percentage of people need what I just said.
So I'm not saying we would never use an apology. I just think that the reason we don't focus on it first is nobody cares about who you are going to be. They only care about who you are. And by the time you're apologizing, you're not apologizing in the way that Catherine is describing. You're just kind of using words. Okay.
Right. And words matter if you mean them. That's why I said genuine and specific. I'm sorry is not a blanket for forgive me for everything that I did last night. That doesn't work.
No, and I'll give you an idea. So in my program, I will not ever teach this in my program during the course. You can only learn this when I coach you through it, or one of my mentors coaches you through it. And what it is it's how you take the reflections of the man that you've been and the man that you're becoming and the man that you are, and how you can bring your reflections, your story with an apology back to your wife. And this is a process because you learn a lot in my course. And so you can't just like throw out this massive apology or like bring out 13 apologies in a row. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of mistakes that we've all made as men and women, not knowing how to be in a marriage. Let's get real. That's why we have the new marriage. And that's why we sell it.
Not knowing even how to be an adult.
Really, that's a really great point. So you must be consistent with the new you before you can apologize. I'm not saying that you can't, we had my narc out a few episodes back. So it's a few weeks ago now.
It's like almost a month ago.
Almost a month, yeah. So and I apologized to Catherine the next day. Okay. It was probably one of the quickest turnarounds that I've ever had.
I think the quickest turnaround.
Yeah, I think so. And especially for the level of my behavior. Go back and listen to that episode, but we won't waste time right now with it. But see, I'm already the new guy consistently. On a whole, I'm not saying I'm not perfect. I put out content on social media.
I'm not saying I'm not perfect.
Oh, well, that's my narcissism.
That's true.
Right there. So, of course I make mistakes, but Catherine trusts the man that I am. And we didn't have to spend a bunch of time on forgiveness. She accepted the apology. She could tell I was remorseful. She trusts the new guy, and the mistake is not the new guy. It was drinking, if you didn't know. And so drinking, I believe, brings out the parts of you haven't worked on. Okay. So I give Catherine an apology. We move everything forward and we go. Now, I reflected a lot on that. If you don't know, that's why I can grow so well. So I reflected. I brought this to my mentors. I brought this to my men in my group. And this is what I really want to get to today. And I'm interested on your take. So what I believe is this: we should all go in saying we don't need the apology. And I'll tell you why. Again, this is different than why we're not giving an apology. Okay. So why this matters is the fast turnaround. Something was different for me this time with all the level of growth and all the work with the men. And that was, I did not need to hear from Catherine what she was sorry for. I genuinely just, for the first time, I think, in my entire experience of reflection and growth, just owned what I did wrong until we had a conversation and we were holding each other accountable, making our plan. I came to you with, I'm sorry. And my reasons why, the reflections. This is why I think, and this is what I'm dying to tell you, this is what I think this is so important. In the work that transferred in the last 4 weeks with all my men talking about this, I clicked and I realized we have been, as people who want the apology from our partner, we have been hiding from our own shame, guilt, and pain of our own failures, mistakes. So we end up attacking, defending ourselves, attacking, staying in that cycle, blame pushing, guilt throwing, shame dumping, all because we haven't dealt with the problems that we need to address. And if you think about it, why this is paramount, the only way that you can save your marriage is if you reflect on you. What do you think about all this?
I love this. So guys, if you're not watching this on YouTube and you're listening, when he's saying we, he's pointing to himself and he's referring to we as men, or we as the ones who are expecting the apology and don't give it until we get it. We haven't actually had this conversation. I'm so proud of you, honey. This is why you guys can listen to him, is because the level of growth that he shows, keep in mind, he is a narcissist. You have to meet 5 out of the 9 criteria to be considered narcissistic personality disorder. He used to meet all 9 of them.
And if I still do a test today, I have to think about it because I can still check the boxes, right?
Yeah, so keep in mind, he's always growing. He's always going to be honest with you. He's going to be transparent about everything that we go through. It took me a long time to be comfortable with that, but I'm comfortable with it now. But this is why this is so beautiful. Naturally, some of us want to go and fix. We want to go and apologize. I am the apologizer. Even when I was completely abused, I would reflect and I would apologize.
And try to repair.
Try to repair. He naturally does not do that. And if you just heard the words that came out of his mouth, this is so important for anybody listening who does not like to apologize. So for the people that when you have an argument, when you have a fight, you go into it the next day waiting for the other person to apologize, you're not actually reflecting. You will apologize only when that other person apologizes. And that's who he was. And that even though we have gotten through fights a lot easier in the last few years than we did previously, he still had shreds of this showing through, which he's telling you right now, he just crossed that cusp 4 weeks ago. When he woke up the next day, he didn't have an expectation that I apologize. He was owning, keep in mind, we haven't had a fight like that in probably 2 years. And so he didn't have a lot of time to reflect on that and to do better because he's been doing so much better in every other area. So although he just learned this massive, I'm so proud of you, honey. We haven't talked about this. Although he just learned this massive piece on apologies 4 weeks ago, it's because he learned all these other massive things over the last few years that we didn't have a lot of apologies that needed to be happening. So what do I think of it? Here's what I think. This is what I teach my women. It doesn't, and this is what I would teach men too, and I do teach them and I coach the men a little bit. When something happens, forget about the other person. Your other half will be held accountable when he or she is influenced and inspired by you. So be the bigger person. And there's a different level of emotional maturity. So my husband has grown in his emotional maturity. He has grown a lot more than I have. I started out at a higher level. He started out at a lower level. But then as we grow, I'm growing, but he's growing a lot faster. He had a longer way to go, that's more of a feat. So if you're thinking about your husband, a lot of the women I work with, I mentioned, are in crisis. If you're thinking about your husband or you're thinking about your wife, just flip it. And your husband is the one that is narcissistic, maybe acts like a sociopath. Maybe you think your husband is actually a psychopath. I thought my husband was a sociopath. I didn't even know what a narcissist was. I just thought he was a sociopath. I used to think his behavior was psychotic. If you think any of those things, if you think that he's not, he'll fight with the wind, he'll fight anything you say, the defensiveness. If that's what you think, you probably are at a higher level of emotional maturity. If that's you, good, high five. But you know what? That makes your job harder. That means you need to be the one to apologize first. You need to be the one to reflect. You need to be the one to own your own stuff because your partner isn't as emotionally mature as you. So it's not going to be 50-50. You have to bear that weight. It might be 20% that you have to put on your husband. There's equal amounts of sacrifice when you are at an equal stage of emotional maturity. Now, when it comes to apologies, I might have been, up until 4 weeks ago, more emotionally mature than my husband. Apparently now we're a match. There's going to be different, which I love, but there's going to be different areas. My husband is much better at edifying me and building me up, for example. I actually suck at that sometimes. And sometimes I'm really good at it. Sometimes I suck.
You do a great job.
Thanks, baby.
She fills in all the gaps.
Oh, you fill in all the gaps. But my point is that there are going to be different things that you're going to excel at. And when it comes to apologies, if you suck at them and you're expecting your partner to apologize first, reflect on that. If you're good at apologies, continue to do it. Continue to own yourself. Continue to remember that your partner is not as emotionally mature in that area. Doesn't mean you're better than your partner. I'm not better than my husband, but I've been better at apologies for our entire relationship.
Okay.
Right?
I think so. And so, well, I know so. But I want to leave you with this, guys, because this is the newest thing. So I was working with a man yesterday, and I was explaining some of this. And he was having a hard time with some of the things that he's been told that she's mad about. Some of the things that he's said, specifically done. Okay? I'm not going to get into it because it doesn't matter. Even in his reflections, working with me, and he's writing it down, the statement was, I don't agree with XYZ because I know what XYZ are. And he didn't understand. That in itself is a defensive statement, which means he could never actually be apologetic. So even though he was deeply sorry in this thing that he wrote, he can't be sorry if he's still defending himself and not holding himself accountable for what her perception is of what he has done. In that reflection, he's able to start to dig deeper, getting out of his own shame, his own guilt, and being able to truly apologize. Hopefully that helps you guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.